straight into it, guys. We have TC Zencka in the house.
Hey,
how you doing,
Nick,
TC?
what's the word?
What is the word? It is robo-umps. That is the word.
Is indeed the word.
It's one word. But we're going to be talking about that now with electronic strike zones. But first, TC, you've done a lot inside the baseball community. What are you up to?
Hanging out, writing for MLB trade rumors a couple times a week, keeping track of what's going on in the league. And I'll be on the podcast with Tim Jackson soon, Breaking, on the Pitcherless Podcast Network. I don't know if you've heard about it.
Yeah, I know. It's something, maybe. I saw your tweet that essentially right after you guys finished the first episode, the news came out. I believe it was about Tatis, or maybe it was Real Muto, the thumb.
Yeah, it was all the news. All the news came out right after. We spent an hour talking about CJ Cron, and then Fernando Tatis signs for $350 million. So, yeah, I think that went well.
Oh man, yeah. So I mean, definitely check out that podcast. I mean, having you, of course, someone infused inside of all these transactions. Tim Jackson, obviously, very much in it. He's an ATS manager that's across the seams. Really, really good podcast. I love it. Honestly, the production that you guys do, I think, is fantastic as well. So definitely check that out. But TC, I'm excited for this. I believe you'll be in the defense of not having electronic strike zones. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Maybe not.
Negatives in that sentence.
Yeah, negative. On behalf of Nick Solak. So I'm going to leave you to it. Excited to watch it.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Nick. I appreciate it. Very glad to be here. Very glad to be taking part in PitchCon this year. We have not very much time left to rail against our human umpires, and I'd like to take this time to stump in favor of electronic strike zones, but not for me. This isn't about me. This isn't just about me. This is for Nick Solak. This is for all the little guys out there who have no idea what a strike is. They have no idea what a ball is. They're flailing. They're trying to figure it out. They're doing their best, but we owe them a little bit of stability, I think. So my message here is it's really very, very, very simple. Electronic strike zones, it's going to make a better sport. It's going to be not just a better sport, it's going to be a pure sport, a purer form of baseball, a more concentrated form.
TC, I got to interrupt you. Unfortunately, there's something up with your stream that is messing up the screen share. It's a wonderful work of art that we're seeing, but it's not exactly, I know, what you want. So maybe exit and restart that. And maybe
Let's try it again.
Get there. I want it in its full glory.
No, thank you. It
looks a little better, but there's still some little odd spots around.
Weird boxes, huh?
Yeah, do you see that?
I do. I don't see it on my screen. I see it on the other screen.
I would try maybe closing Chrome and back up again, something like that. That's what J.R. Keynes was doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, this looks like a fantastic presentation, and I want to make sure that's presented the right way. Meanwhile, I think I'm not blurry anymore. I'm not blurry anymore, so that's good. But yeah, so I'm imagining that Nick Solak deserves more, justice. And I think that's what we're going to give him today in this presentation. But yeah, guys, go to the link below. Go.rallyup.com/PitchCon. We're supporting a great cause in feeding America. We have 2.5 days left of this, which is unreal because we've already had an incredible day one. Fantastic first half of day two. And for those wondering, yes, Paul Sporer will be presenting at 4 o'clock today. He swapped places with Scott Shue. So don't worry about that. This might look better. It looks like you have a sharing button, but that might be overlaying.
It should go away.
Actually,
on
the thing.
See if I can move it. I put it on my other screen here. See if that works better.
I'm still seeing
something.
It's
still got that thing, huh?
Yeah.
All right, let me try one more time. I don't know why. What's going on here?
If you're using, okay. Well, hopefully we'll get TC back shortly. If you guys have any questions, just leave it here, as we've got just a moment. It was pretty cool seeing TJ Antone in there. I don't think he's going to get much of a chance inside the Cincinnati rotation out of the gate. Lorenzen looks to have that 5th spot. Wade Miley certainly as a Toby will be there. But Antone might get an opportunity. We actually were down on Molly, I believe, entering 2019, and he quickly got a rotation spot out of the gate. Yes, your boy, Michael Ahedo. I do hope that Antone does get that opportunity. But a couple other names I saw there that was pretty interesting. Kwon Kim, I know he had a sub-2 ERA, and we're all like, yeah, that's not going to happen. I think he was 3rd there in inducing the most weak contact, or maybe limiting barrels, one of those two, per plate appearance. I'm not too shocked. He avoids the heart of the play a lot around the edges. There might be some sneaky value out of the gate as a Toby from Kwon Kim, so don't rule that out. I mean, he was above Kyle Hendricks and Keuchel in those metrics. Yes, it was about 4 starts or so, but definitely something to consider. Ahedo will be showcasing his top 100 on Sunday. Stay tuned for Molly in his top 100. I have him around 50. I'm assuming Ahedo is pushing him farther than that. I'm really excited for that presentation. I think Ahedo has a fantastic perspective on these things, and yeah, I'm excited for that one a lot. I don't know what Spore's presentation is. Literally, all I know is that he's doing a presentation. So I don't know. But yeah, this is the PitchCon shirt. I love this design. I think as a shirt, I love this on a mug is the PitchCon logo. This on a shirt, it's fantastic. Developed by Michael Packard. Hopefully you caught the graphics presentation from last night. We're probably going to do more of those, I think. I think that was just way too much fun. And really seeing the craft and the different approaches of those four guys. And we have more graphics people that want to be involved. Jake Roy in particular, who helped plan it. Quincy Dong and Doug Carlin and Justin Redler. So many others that I can't wait for them all to be involved in it. Hopefully we can do more of it. So I think TC has joined back. Let's see if he shares his screen and it's looking better. It does look clean right now.
Let's see. So
Let's
far,
start
so
from
good.
the beginning and see how it looks.
Time will tell here.
Oh no.
Still got it, man. I don't know. I'm not sure what I can do about this here. It's
let me see. If you can send me the presentation, I can skip through it for you.
Yeah.
That might be the best solution. I can be here and just say next slide, and I can do that. We'll figure it out. We got to make sure that we get the justice for Nick Solak that he deserves. He's been waiting ages for you, and we'll make sure we get it his way. If you've got any questions right now for us, for PitchCon, for TC, for me, anything about the top 100 in the meantime, by all means, I'm right here. But yeah, guys, check out the PitchCon Podcast Network. I put out my first podcast with Paul Sporer of Nick Pollock and Friends, about an hour and 40 minutes. Just hearing about Sporer's journey. It's a very interesting one. You know, you don't just become the manager of rotographs overnight. There's a lot of hard work that went into that and a lot of perspectives. That is very, very interesting. Chu says that Solak is the number 17 second baseman we have, and he kind of want to push him up further. So you send it my way over Discord, and I can probably get it up. If it's too large for that, you can just send me an email, TC.
Send me the link.
Let's see if we'll make this work.
I did.
There we go. Cool. I got it.
Text or?
You got to give me access.
Text, yeah. Oh, shoot. Oh, boy.
It's all good. So yeah, guys, keep leaving your questions here. Rob Refsnyder. Oh, man. Asher. Yeah, I remember Refsnyder. There was like a moment that I really thought he was going to be our second baseman. I truly believed it. I think he came up to the Red Sox and had like a home run one day, and it was wonderful. Let me know when that was verified. There, TC.
Yeah.
Maybe if I.
Okay, here you go.
Yeah, no. We'll get this up in just a second, guys. Any luck?
It should work for you now.
No, it's not letting me.
If you go back from that link.
I'll try it again.
The other thing.
I'm trying to figure out how to. Where
Yeah, I'm still not getting notified about that. I can't do it.
Okay, hold on. Let me try. I'm going to try one other browser real quick. Give me 1 second.
Mm-hmm. All right, we'll be back shortly with TC. Zencka, he should have been the everyday second baseman. I don't know. Maybe. All right, keep shooting the questions my way. Let's see. I'm thinking about out of the gate who I could be adjusting quickly on the list. Domingo Germán being in battle with Davy Garcia. I might actually be moving Davy Garcia up really quickly, especially if he gets that spot. I assumed in my ranks that Davy wouldn't be, and it would be Domingo Germán instead. But if it is Davy Garcia becomes the top 80 guy. And we'll say, hey, TC, how you doing?
Hey.
I still don't have access to that file.
Okay. What's your it should be giving access to everybody. Can you
Can you resend the link then if it's giving access to everybody? We'll get this up in just a second, guys.
Okay.
Can I do the
Okay.
I can do like a 30-second countdown on this. I'm not gonna do that. That's fine. You still can't access it.
Okay, hold on, sorry.
My tech support coming in. So if you want to, if you can send me the link where it says you can anyone can edit it, or
Yeah, so I'm on a different computer now. I have to get back.
I got you. Okay.
I'm coming. I promise. And I can talk super fast. So. Okay.
All right.
Let's see if that
got to
gets
request
you
access to that too, so I'm doing that. Yeah, it's the same link I think from before.
Will you try sharing my screen one more time? I'm on a different browser.
Okay, try and go ahead and share your screen.
Let's try one more time.
If Tehran had guaranteed opening day start this year, where would he rank? I would probably say 200 because he'll get rocked and then he'll demolish your team and then be removed from the Angels. So no. I don't know why I assumed it would just be Angels, but there you go. Sorry, Avery. Solak was a Yankees prospect who they traded to the Rays as part of a three-way trade that sent Brandon Drury to the Yankees. Oh, is that right? And then the Rays traded him for Peter Stairbanks. I believe that was Chris Webber's #1 moment on Twitter, and he deserves all of that because it was fantastic. TC, I really don't mind just sharing it over here.
Yeah, sorry, I'm trying to get it to you. I just need your email.
You just look into yours online.
And the lidless one, I love that.
It is sending to you now.
Okay.
Is the share working?
There we go. All right, cool. All right. Here we go.
No? Go ahead.
Just let me know when you want next slides, okay?
Okay, cool. Well, thank you for doing this co-presentation with me, Nick, just as we planned it. Super excited to talk about electronic strike zones with you while you click through for me. Yeah, so electronic strike zones, that's what we're talking about. And I am pro electronic strike zones. So go ahead and forward to the, keep going. Keep going. Go ahead to the screen. One more screen. Go ahead and click again. There you go. So here we are. Baseball is going to be a better sport with electronic strike zones. And the why is pretty simple. So I'm going to move through this pretty quick so we get a chance to talk about everything. Go ahead and click. So first and foremost, I'm going to show you a baseball clip that's going to be even more painful than what we just experienced over the last 10 minutes because it's the worst part of baseball, the worst 5 minutes of baseball from 2020. Then we're going to play around with some numbers, really just for fun, just to see what we can't figure out about umpire bias. And then we're going to look ahead into the future and see how the game might change if we get our human umpires on the shelf where they sadly belong. So first things first, the foundation of baseball. This is the big issue. The game is based on a very simple relationship. Pitcher versus hitter, right? And we, as baseball enthusiasts, spend most of our time trying to figure out true talent levels. Can this pitcher, in this case Mike Morin, get the ball past this hitter, in this case JD Davis? This is it's a psychological one-on-one, right? This is the relationship that makes baseball more interesting than other sports. It's the really get in your head factor. But we have this problem in that we have umpires who are clouding the issue. Instead of, they're supposed to be adjudicating. That's it. Just adjudicating. No shade to Mark Carlson here. He's just one of many. But we need, they're supposed to be, we want them, holding up a hand at the end when the bell rings. We don't want them throwing punches, right? You wouldn't have referees in basketball change the size of the hoop every game. That wouldn't make any sense. So what I want to look at today is really how much does the umpire affect the game? How much can he affect the game? And how is it going to change if we get an electronic strike zone system, which we will. So this is happening. So this is Mark DeRosa. I think this speaks to kind of the argument for umpires. You gain knowledge over the course of being in the big leagues for the course of a couple of seasons. You understand which umpires are a little bit wider in their zone, who are a little bit more north-south, who's going to force the pitcher to come tight. We like the gamesmanship of having a human umpire. We like trying to figure him out. We like that our hitters are trying to pinpoint exactly where the zone is. We like that our pitchers, we like that Greg Maddux can spread the zone, can push strikes a little bit further off the plate with consistency. But there's so much gamesmanship in baseball. We spend all day looking at these numbers, right? Exit velocity, and swing percentage, zone percentage. We're looking at everything under the sun, and there is more than enough gamesmanship between the pitcher and the hitter. And this is the relationship I want to see. I want to see strength versus strength. I don't want to see the umpire mucking up the works for them, but we've built our house on sand. We have the umpire who can make all these judgments, but this isn't a simple case of, this isn't just that robots are better than humans. This is a bigger deal than that. This is about consistency, and specifically it's about consistency of error. Humans are inconsistent. You can go past Arnold there. So I was a film student, so let me show you a film approach to what I'm talking about here real quick. And the above shot is what we want baseball to be. It's the pitcher and the hitter, the umpire's in the background. He's there, but we're not really seeing him. The bottom screen there, this is what baseball actually is today. We have the umpire front and center. He's making his impact felt on the game, and we don't always know where. And we don't always pay attention to where. Frankly, I'm not sure why we don't spend more time looking at umpires. So let's go ahead and watch this clip if we can. This is an at-bat from this season. It's JD Davis against Mike Morin. This is baseball at its worst, folks. It's a painful at-bat. It's essentially, and I'm going to talk you through it a little bit while it's happening here. It's essentially everybody failing at the things that they're trying to do. Mike Morin is not going to be able to hit his spots. JD Davis is just going to stand there. The umpires are going to make errors left and right. So what I'm mostly looking at is, which we'll get into a little bit later, is StatCast data. So we're going to see these calls as they're, and we have the data through StatCast. So this one there, that's a strike, right? Statcast says that's a strike. It falls within the zone. The umpire doesn't think it's a strike, mostly because it missed his spot. And he missed his spot by so far that the umpire is never going to give him that. That's part of what we have here with human umpires. But the strike zone is not supposed to be, it's not supposed to be like the pocket in football. It's not supposed to move when the catcher moves. It's supposed to be a static thing. And the problem is that it's not only that it's not static game to game or at bat to at bat, it's that it does change on a weekly, on a daily basis when whoever we put back there calls it differently. And the idea behind the electronic strike zones is that we will be able to better manage the amount of error that we have and the way in which that error manifests itself, and that it's not kind of willy-nilly the way it is now. So there's a foul ball, and it's really, that guy's cool. That's cool, hat flip. Baseball is competing with faster, more interesting sports, and this is a tough sell. This is a game in August. That one's supposed to be a strike. The umpire is going to make. There's 6 pitches in this at bat. The umpire is going to miscall 4 of these, right? And so I'm going to be looking at these. So kind of a definition of terms here. That last pitch was an error favoring the pitcher. So that was a ball that, based on its zone location, should have been called a strike, but was not called a strike, right? So that is an error in the pitcher's favor. The inverse is an error in the batter's favor when a ball is it comes within the zone and is called a ball, or rather, right? So that's in the hitter's favor there. That pitch is actually supposed to be a strike as well per Statcast, which is why we can already see some of the potential issues with defining the strike zone in that way. But again, it's about consistency. It's not so much about like whether or not that pitch was a strike. It's that pitch should be called the same way every single time, and it's not. Nick, if you want to go to push this to up the speed, go to 1.5 times through to the end of this. Because here we're going to have a stolen base attempt. Again, people trying and failing. Conforto tries to steal second. He fails to steal second. The umpire gets the call wrong. They got to do the whole replay thing. Go ahead and jump to the last 10 seconds or so we can see the final pitch. Here we go. So at this point, the umpire has gifted J.D. Davis 3 balls. So it's a 3-2 count. Every single pitch has technically been a strike, except for that one, which is not a strike, but that's the pitch that ends the at bat. This whole scene is a disaster in my mind. What are we even watching for? Nobody's doing the thing they're trying to do. The strike zone's all over the place. I want to see whether or not J.D. Davis can hit that guy, which he can. But the whole foundation of the relationship is skewed because the umpire's calling, who knows what he's calling. So Boston University did a study, which is very helpful, that goes back 15 some years. Landline. Goes back 15 some years. Found, yeah, hold on.
Call from Matthews, MC.
The doctor calling again.
Matthews, MC.
So umpires make 13 errors per game. This was in 2020, actually, which is actually better than usual. Going back about 15 years, to make about 4. You can go to the next screen. And again, we're going to watch some examples here. These are errors favoring the hitter. Here's a cross-up. This is often a case. Again, the umpire has this kind of inherent bias towards, they've got this moving zone, like the pocket in football. If the pitch misses the glove by a lot, sometimes they just don't call it. More often than not, they don't. There's another cross-up right down the middle. The pitch could not be more of a strike. That's not really fair to just cherry pick these instances because it's a big game. There's a lot of pitches. There's some of all things that happen. Yeah, keep going. In general, umpires favor pitchers more than hitters here. So these are regularized, so it's to 100 pitches. So pitchers get about 1.5 extra strikes for every extra ball that hitters get. And this is a big deal, actually. This is baseball's deep state, right? If you want to suppress offense, this is how you do it. You call more strikes. Let's go to the next clip, and we'll see my man Nick Solak here with some tough luck. He's going to have some. He's going to fight back on some of these. So you can see how this is the gamesmanship, right? The zone is moving, right? He got the one call. He keeps going out to that spot. And then Solak here is going to respond. He knows where he's looking now, right? So it's a nice little back and forth between Minaya and Solak there, where Solak gets the best of them. But that is still happening with or without electronic strike zones. The next thing is the unfortunate consequence of not having electronic strike zones. Go ahead and jump forward 10 seconds or so there, so we can go there we go. Here's some really tough calls. You see these are the ones that are really smart. Oof, that was rough. That was rough. And you can see it in the body language, right? You can see it in the body language for a lot of these players from time to time. And it happens differently for different hitters. But it's the count. The importance of the count cannot be overstated. Now, it's hard to see the real effect on a league-wide level. What we're really looking at is not necessarily the effect that an umpire can have, but the effect that they could have, right? And so how much does the count affect hitters? Go ahead to the next slide here. This says one pitch, batters average, typically a 311 WOBA, but it's the way this breaks down, weighted on base average. The way this breaks down, that's interesting, right? With a 1-0 count, an average batter in Major League Baseball can be expected to have a weighted on base average of about 363, which is insanely good. When it's 0-1, that drops to 270. That's a gigantic swing. That's the difference between just the first pitch, strike or a ball. That's the big swing there. Go to the next clip. Ben Clemens wrote a great article on Fangraphs not that long ago covering this. And you can take basically any hitter, take their weighted on base average, and if they see a first pitch ball, their expected production goes up by 13%. If they see a first pitch strike, their expected production goes down by 16%. I mean, this is why baseball is so hard to categorize, right? There's so much variance in every single moment of the game. And this is, just the first pitch of every at bat. There are, hundreds of thousands of pitches during a season. Kind of is a fallacy because he's never been a 325 weighted on base average hitter. He was much better than that in 2019 and much worse than that in 2020. But when he gets 1-0 count, when he sees a ball, his expected on base average jumps to, go ahead and click twice, to 367. Now let's see, who's a 367 hitter? Who does Nick Solak become when he gets first pitch ball? This is an older clip, but come on, it's a good one. Rizzo, man. Been good for a long time. Okay, you can get past this clip. Anthony Rizzo, 267 weighted on base average for his career. Jorge Posada, 267. Scott Rowland, I think was 268, or 368 rather, sorry. Troy Tulowitzki, 368. So Nick Solak, if he sees that first pitch ball, he all of a sudden becomes Jorge Posada. Derek Jeter had a 360 weighted on base average for his career. Nick Solak is expected to become better than Derek Jeter when he sees the first pitch ball. Now, what happens when he sees that first pitch strike? 273. Let's see a clip of somebody who's a 273 hitter. Again, older clip, but I think this nicely illustrates what happens to Nick Solak when he sees the first pitch strike. That's what happens. That's what happens to hitters when they fall behind. That's rough. Don't mean to pick on Billy Hamilton, but Billy Hamilton, 274 weighted on base average for his career. So Nick Solak, he's either Anthony Rizzo or he's Billy Hamilton. He's Jose Lobaton. And not Jose Lobaton when he homered off the Cubs in the playoffs, like regular Jose Lobaton. And these first pitches, they're well in favor of the pitcher. Umpire error tends in favor of the pitcher 62% of the time. 2,900 pitches. It's a big jump. That does help with this offensive suppression. Next page. And it's happening most often on that first pitch. So we have almost 12,000 total errors or missed calls from umpires this year, which is really pretty good. I mean, on the grand scheme of things, 89% accuracy. That's pretty awesome. Like, to think that they can be that accurate on balls and strikes is kind of insane. I mean, props to them, but it's not really about how good they can be. It's about the consistency level. And it's about how much they are impacting the game with those calls. 38% of their errors came on the first pitch of an at-bat. 38%. So that's over 6,000 errors they made. 6,000 at-bats that they just started the year out. They started out by, putting their influence, putting their stamp on it. And then we're supposed to sort through why Nick Solak is hitting more like Billy Hamilton than Anthony Rizzo. So go ahead to the next slide. See, for count data, this is a good good place to go to. Fangraphs has great count stuff. This is just to illustrate with 2 strikes. So you can get all through 2 strikes. Hitters are terrible. The count matters a ton. It's such a commonplace part of the game that we don't think about it a whole lot, but it's everything. It's the foundation of the at-bat. So this is not going to be a statistically sound process that I'm going to embark on now, but I just wanted to play around a little bit and see what happens if we could try to get rid of some of these errors and see what happens. So go to the next one. So we know fielding independent pitching, the attempt is to remove the impact of defense, luck, sequencing, to really isolate the pitcher's impact. So I was trying to isolate, I wanted to just see what happens if we could try to isolate what happens to hitters when they have a level playing field. So no errors in one way or the other. So we're going to try to remove, we're going to try to find here an umpire independent weighted on base average. Go ahead and click. So we took StatCast pitch data, categorized each pitch based on the zones. If there was an error favoring the pitcher, or an error favoring the hitter, or if there were multiple errors. And then I just straight up removed any plate appearance at the plate appearance level with an error. So anytime an umpire made an error during a plate appearance, I took that plate appearance out. I threw it away, put it in the trash. I wanted to look just at the at-bats where guys said, oh, this is going to be a lot of clicking for you, Nick. This is so this is calculated change, right? So this is going to be the leaderboard for whose on-base average went up the most when you take away the instances of umpire error. So if you got guesses, it's great. Otherwise, Nick, you can kind of click through here to give us what this list is. This doesn't tell us a whole lot, right? This isn't predictive of anything. It's really just kind of fun for what happened this past season. It doesn't even tell us that much about how much the umpire affected their numbers, but it does give us, we might see some hints of things here. Dansby Swanson, we might not expect quite so much regression for him since he did so well. This top spot is not all that surprising, but it's maybe a little bit surprising. Eloy Jimenez, big body guy, it's easy to call strikes on him. Who's this top spot? Reigning NL MVP Cody Bellinger. He had a ton of umpire error, more than any other player. Him and Max Muncy were the top of the list. So these are guys whose, when you take out the instances of umpire error, saw their weighted on base average go up. League-wide on base average went up by 0.003, which is kind of significant. On base percentage did not change, but on base average did. So this is the bottom of the list. Guys whose on base average dropped. So again, like, it's not so much the league-wide impact, because we assume that kind of one of the things about umpire errors that we assume it all comes out in the wash, right? There's some mistakes for the pitcher. There've been some mistakes for the hitter. It all comes out in the wash. Well, first of all, that's not really true, because umpires make so many more mistakes in favor of the pitcher. But more specifically, it's not true for a hitter, for individual hitters. It's pretty cold comfort to tell Nick Solak that it's okay that he saw 44 extra strikes called on him because Kyle Schwarber got some extra balls. Like, that doesn't help Solak's on base percentage that Schwarber got on base a bunch. Brian Reynolds here, that's maybe troubling Suarez to have such bad years and still to be given some, the benefit of the doubt from umpires. But again, this is really just like, we're exploring for anomalies here. We're kind of looking for something that might jump out at us as something that might have been more causal. But on the whole, it's really just a exercise. Go ahead to the next one here. And we can look at the umpire errors in lots of different ways. So this is just volume for who saw the most error pitches, right? Who had the most instances of umpires making the wrong calls. There's Muncy and Bellinger. There's our boy, J.D. Davis. He had the 4 in that one at bat, but he saw 63 errors in total. Let's go ahead to the next page. Go ahead and click until it populates. So Nick Solak, what happened to Nick Solak? So this was kind of my question, right? 25 years old. He's essentially a rookie, played 33 games in 2019, and he was great. Was he playing over his head in 2019? Was he playing under his head in 2020? Trying to see what's there. He's a bad defender. You can play him at second or left or center, and he's going to be a bad defender. But I want to see if there was anything else there. And for the most part, things are relatively stable. Like his ISO totally cratered. His BABIP dropped a little bit, but not a whole lot. Let's go to the next page. But Solak jumped out at me because of the amount of umpire error that he saw. Not only did he see volume-wise a lot of errors favoring the pitcher. So this is so take out the positive instances, the times when umpires gave hitters an extra ball. Right, this is just like the example where we saw with Solak, where that high pitch was called a strike. He saw 44 of those, 2 less than Muncy. But again, there's a lot of different ways we can look at this. It's only 1% of his total pitches that he saw, but that still ends up being one, shadow strike, one extra strike per 4.3 plate appearances. Now, the reason I think this is interesting for Solak in particular is because, dude's 25 years old. He's trying to establish himself in this game. He's still with a relatively new franchise. He's only been with the Rangers for a couple of years. They're in a totally new ballpark, in a ballpark that suppresses offense. There's a global pandemic going on, and every time he steps to the plate, he doesn't know where the strike zone is. And it really starts to there is serious potential to get in a guy's head here. Go ahead and click on the next one. Because again, here we have the net errors against. Solak had the worst umpire luck by far. Look at 34 net errors against. So umpires weren't helping him out at all. It wasn't the greatest, percentage, the greatest lump sum, and he doesn't see the greatest bump either. But I think that having this kind of inconsistency for a young player can be detrimental. It can be really tough. We talk a lot about the situation that a guy gets put in. We talk about it a lot in basketball because they have such a bigger role, forming a culture with smaller teams, smaller units. But I think this is where you see some of that in baseball. And this is where, the numbers kind of diverge a little bit. And we get a little bit of convergence between kind of the numbers game and the scouting game. You have to know these players at an individual level, and you have to kind of see them day in and day out to know if they're the type of guy who is going to be bothered by this sort of thing, or if it's something that he's aware of. So Solak is a guy I really like for this year. I'm not a big fantasy guy, but if I were, I'd bump him up a couple of spots. You think that with a fresh start, he starts to get slightly better looks. Go ahead and click on the next slide. This is the resulting whole of his numbers. So if you take away the umpire errors, his weighted on base average jumps to 307, which is pretty close to his exit velocity and batted ball stats. But I think there you just have a couple of instances, and this is the type of thing that you want to look for when you're looking for sleepers, or if you're looking for guys who are just going to have bounce back years, right? You're looking for these kind of like one-off things that might have affected him. And again, that change in ballpark, those ballpark factors, that can be a big deal for a young kid trying to figure it out. Like, he's not yet established. The rest, for the most part, a lot of his numbers are good. He didn't barrel up as many balls, but exit velocity is still good. Hard hit percentage is good. It's probably Nick Solak. He's probably not a 387, whatever he was, weighted on base average in 2019. He probably is closer to that 320 mark, 325. And he'll have to be to stick it because he's a bat first guy. He's a bat only guy, really. But I think he's got a good chance. Go ahead and click on the next slide. So with that in mind, looking ahead, because this is going to happen, right? Electronic strike zones are coming. So how's it going to change the game? And this is where we kind of shift to the pitcher perspective. Go ahead and click. Jason Stark said this or wrote this a while ago. MLB is moving purposefully toward the world of electronic strike zones, and now that even the umpires union has pledged its cooperation, it's almost a sure bet this is happening. Go ahead and click on the next slide. Now, last year, it looked like this could happen as soon as 2022, which happens to be, if you were drafted last year, 3 to 5 year projection for minor leagues could be when they're arriving. Now, this is probably all pushed back a little bit. I don't think we're going to see electronic strike zones next season, but it could be a season or two after that. And that means that organizations are looking into this now. Like the guys that they're drafting now, they're drafting with the assumption that they're going to be playing in a world where electronic strike zones are an everyday part of the game. What does that mean exactly? How does that change, a player's projection or how we might look at them? So this was a project I went through last year. Go ahead and click. Trying to look at how this might, how umpire error, if we eliminate the umpire bias, how we might see different trends in how the game is called. So this is a similar kind of thing. It's just finding umpire accuracy metrics per player per year. So John Lester in 2019 is one line of the database here. Jose Barrios in 2018 is one line. So I found there basically umpire accuracy metrics by year, and then this principal component analysis that we can see it. Here's this nice little scatter plot, and clustered to see if we could find any kind of trends for the types of guys that get extra calls. And so this is the kind of the positive cluster. Go ahead and click. What I found was a couple of particular things, like umpires tend towards they'll give extra strikes for lower velocity, for lower spin rate. They tend towards to starters more so than relievers, and to right-handers more than left-handers. Go ahead and click. There it is. This all makes a lot of sense, right? It's the same basic concept as that hitters are struggling with, right? High velocity, high spin. It's hard to pick these balls up. And remember, that calling a strike takes an action. Letting a ball go by, that's your passive action. So when umpires see the ball better, when they have more familiarity with a guy, when it's not coming in as hard or as fast or as spinny, they're able to see it better. They're able to more confidently make that call. Go ahead and click. Go ahead and click twice. So this is kind of a basic profile of the guys who have been typically helped by umpires and the guys who have been typically hurt by umpires. So the John Lester type, Kyle Hendricks type, these are the guys who've been helped by umpires, right? This is kind of what we assume, the control artists. And this is just to see like what that means exactly. Like what does it mean to get more favorable calls as a pitcher? In this case, it's about 8.3% of his strikes were gifted strikes, unjust strikes, you might say. Kind of treatment. He throws really freaking hard. He comes in late in games. He's there just to crush spirits. And he does not get those extra calls. He does not benefit from those same kinds of edge cases that a Lester or a Kyle Hendricks, Zach Davies, pretty much all the Cubs starters now that they might benefit from. Moving forward, that's really good for Chapman. There we go. And you can click one more time. Let's go to this last slide here. So moving forward, when we do get to electronic strike zones, it's going to be a harder time for guys like Kyle Hendricks, for control artists, for workhorses who work the ends of the zone. They're not going to be able to move the strike zone in the same way. It's going to be a totally different kind of game. If hitters, depending on how, it all depends on how good of a system they can set up, right? And right now the bar is 90%. If electronic strike zones have an accuracy level of higher than 90%, then we should bring them in. We should get this going. And it's about, again, consistency of error as well. So But I don't think this means that, Kyle Hendricks and company are being phased out. Right? It does mean that Chapman and other hard throwing guys are going to get the benefit of some calls that they miss now. And it means that it more so means that they're going to start, that their peers won't be getting the benefit of these extra calls. But the game always evolves. The game always adapts. I mean, guys are throwing harder now than ever, but that average velocity, 93, 94, whatever it is now, it's starting to plateau a bit. The game is going to have to evolve again, and pitchers are going to have to adapt in a different way. And my hope is that the gamesmanship of a pitcher and a hitter, kind of the Kyle Hendricks game, really takes front and center. I mean, there's a kind of a classic Greg Maddux story about a time when he was facing Jeff Bagwell, and it was like a 3-2 count early in the season, and the Braves were up by a bunch, and so he grooves a fastball to Bagwell. Bagwell hits it out, and Eddie Perez is unhappy with Maddux, and he basically tells him, like, that doesn't matter. He can hit a home run there. We won the game. Who cares? Later in the season, when there's a 3-2 count, he's expecting a fastball. He's not going to get one. And that kind of gamesmanship. I mean, Greg Maddux is a difficult. But really fun that a guy can be so devious as to plan his sequencing 6 months in advance is an insane level of planning. And I hope that as we get to a more stable strike zone, that we're going to have even more of that kind of, that we can really delve more into sequencing and location. And like a lot of the number stuff that we do now will have much kind of a greater level of validity, because hitters are going to know the strike zone. They're going to know what bounds they're dealing with. And that's going to make it easier for them. Here's just some articles that are, there's a lot of good stuff on here, or on electronic strike zones. All the sites are out there. The Boston University study was one that was really interesting. That they found that umpires made 34,000 some errors in 2018, and it's about 14 errors per game going back. So, yeah. Let's see. I can't. It's just more about me. I read it. MLB Trade Rumors. I can get me there a couple times a week. I joined Pitcher List in 2019. I happen to be here doing this podcast soon. I know the breaking transaction news, providing context for those kinds of deals, along with the incomparable Tim Jackson. That's an extra slide. Don't need it. No.
All right. We made it work, TC.
Thank you for working through that with me.
Oh, man. And I feel so bad in some ways, because the production value on your presentation was unbelievable.
Thank you, Will.
And like the beats, I'm sorry, I tried as much as I could to follow the beats with you. And
it was good. There's some good improv work.
That was a really, really interesting presentation. I haven't actually really thought about the zone in that way, but you make such a great point of like, yeah, 0-1 versus 1-0 is huge. That is truly like a massive swing in the count. I've heard a lot of discussion about kind of like 2-1 versus 1-2, essentially the first three pitches, as well. But yeah, that's a huge factor of like, yeah, if you get that pitch wrong and like that's not fair to the batter, your head is spinning as you go through this, because it's like, right, wait, can we make those applications? What changes can we make? That was really, really cool stuff, TC.
Well, that's the biggest thing is like these hitters, they have so much uncertainty now. They have to consider so many different things, as if the mind games with the pitcher weren't enough, and the fact that they're throwing 99 miles an hour, but that they also have to figure out what a strike is. That's
right.
That's tough.
And yeah, I apologize for the small mishaps I had while I did the presentation. I'm so
good.
sorry.
No, good. No, you nailed it.
Love the font choices and the colors and everything, and the player crop outs. So well done. And a couple more things just about kind of like the approach here. So I want to understand this exactly. Are you thinking that like robo umps completely, or are you thinking maybe some sort of compromise with them?
No, I mean it'll be a compromise. I don't think umpires are going to lose their jobs over this. That's the
Sure.
big thing. Umpires are still going to be. I think they'll still be on the bases. You're still going to have somebody behind home plate to kind of, to manage the thing. I don't know exactly what the process is going to be in terms of where they're going to be getting the calls from, the logistics of it. But the umpires are still going to be there. They're still going to very much have a role. It's just about finding a more consistent way to nail down this particular part of the game. You still need the humans there.
Well, right,
Right.
Yeah, I wonder what the best method is, right? Like, is it you have something in their ear that like lets them know when it's an obvious call and then doesn't do anything if it's borderline, and won't say if it's a strike or a ball when it's borderline, but we'll say like, hey, that was full ball inside the strike zone.
That's a lot. I mean,
know?
you don't want to have the umpire like consulting after or during every call, right? Because part of the point is to get like to hurry the game along, right? We want this game to move a little quicker, not to slow it down, not to have umpires be playing with their robot companions.
Right. I know that they've been testing, of course, like I think of the AFL, and they had a full minor league game. They had, I think, like maybe it was a 60 minutes or something, just about one umpire who just saw a light in center field, and it told them like if that was a strike or not. And he called an entire game like that, and it worked well without a hitch and no real complaints. I think honestly the biggest element that I would miss is I miss savages in the box. I miss those kinds of moments where like managers stand up for their players, and that kind of element of the game. It's not violent. It's aggressive, but normally not violent. And there's a character element that you kind of want to keep intact,
Sure. I mean, I totally get that. But I mean, it's not like those arguments have an effect on the game right now. I mean, we get to see a little bit of personality, I guess, but like, how often do we actually see a call get changed? Like, never.
Sure.
Never.
No, but it's the fire. It's the fire. Let it out. It's emotion.
Yeah, but they can still let that out. They can yell and scream as much as they want.
I mean, it's like getting ejected for an instant replay that they have no control over. It's like, guys, don't yell about that. But it's like, yeah, that ball's at their knee, underneath their knees, their shins. Get out of here. I mean, so how would you implement it? I mean, Asher has a really good idea here. I mean, maybe it's a little too high tech, but having some sort of HoloLens where like they have inside their mask, it has some sort of AR that literally tells them strike or ball as it comes in.
Yeah, I mean, that would be kind of the ideal eventual place that we want to get to, right? I mean,
yeah,
it's going to be an evolving process, whatever it is. I do think that the light in center field is kind of interesting. I always kind of thought of it as like a buzzer in their pocket or something that's
sure.
Give them a couple of pagers.
Buzzers aren't real, okay?
That's true. That's a good point. Yeah, just bang on trash cans. Do it that way.
There it is. I think someone said that in the chat actually earlier before, or maybe it was with Pitching Ninja.
There's lots of ways to make it happen.
But yeah, I mean, it's a hard. There is like some tact that needs to be done here, right? Because you don't want that huge curveball that nips the very bottom of the zone, that is like in the dirt, to be called as a strike, right?
Well, no, unless if it's always called a strike. If it's always called a strike, then that's what it is, right? And the machines are going to take calibration. It's going to be constant calibration. It's going to be something, and it's going to be a process that does take some time. That's why they're, run these tests in the minor leagues and stuff. But my point is more that like once the system works, like you can't implement the system before it works,
right?
And you have an easy bar. Like you need to be better than human umpires are. So you have 90% accuracy rating. You want consistency as much as you can where they are missing it, and like that's your bar. Once you're better than that, bring them in.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I see they're mentioning quickly a balk here. Do you think we can, do a presentation just about how many times they incorrectly called a balk? Get those robo umps completely in there so that they can actually define to us what a balk is, because we certainly mess that up all the time. There you are. You're back. Okay, cool. But yeah, I mean, this is I think the exposure of the changing of the count is a discussion of itself. Like you could even talk about saying some guys are being too passive because they put themselves in counts that are worse than they need to, and this is a very good. I mean, this should be included inside of luck, right? We talk about BABIP
Right.
and
Exactly.
left on base rate and home run by fly ball rate, but this should be a luck stat.
Exactly. It's totally part of it. We see it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see any reason why we shouldn't be paying more attention to it.
Now, I might have missed that slide. I don't know how because I was controlling them, but umpires themselves. Did you do any sort of focus on like which umpires have those errors and which ones we gotta be careful about?
No, I didn't look at the particular umpires. I mean, it's been kind of looked at a little bit, and there are, some of the studies in the past have shown that, like, first of all, umpires do learn that they have done better, and also that like the younger umpires tend to do a better job than the older guys who are kind of stuck in their ways. And at least in the past, I think it was distant past now. I think it was like 2015, 2016. I think 538 ran an article about how they were tracking the numbers down and like talking about how they were giving the reports to umpires, which is something they're still doing. But the league wasn't really using those numbers in any sort of prioritizing way. Like they were still giving the big games to kind of the guys who've been there the longest, whose numbers were the worst. It just feels like it's an area of the game that can be really improved right now.
Absolutely, yeah. And we're getting so much more data and so many more stats than ever before. We're kind of we're figuring out what we can do with them and what kind of options are available to us. It does seem like inevitability. I hope it's just as simple as like, hey, if you needed to check that one, you got something to check on it, because too many times, I mean, the ones that pained me in two ways were the cross-ups that were right down the middle, and I can see the catcher in pain. And then on top of that pain, he doesn't even get the strike for the pitcher. And you never want to see this. You never want to see the catcher look back at the umpire.
Exactly. It's gonna be commonplace. Like 5 years
that's
from now,
absolute pain.
7 years from now, we're gonna be like, man, can you believe we used to have humans just standing back there trying to see with their eyes? That's crazy. Like,
Isn't it so dangerous?
Right. Exactly.
There's that famous Vin Scully clip of him going, "I'm okay." If you don't know that one, it's wonderful and incredible, and in only the way that Vin Scully can do it. But yeah, it can be dangerous back there. You can get hurt off of foul balls and missed plays and all that kind of stuff too. It's all kinds of crazy. But yeah, if anyone else has any other questions you guys want to ask TC Zencka, you can obviously find him on MLB Trade Rumors on Breaking Baseball News Podcast with Tim Jackson, obviously doing articles here at Pitcher List as well. I can't mention it enough, man. The design of this presentation, superb. Even like the low velocity indicators and everything like that. So good. The little arrows, like this is a sky.
Give those arrows.
I think
Utilize what we have. Utilize the resources.